Hello everybody, we're going to cover another movie today. Except this time, we're delving into some older territory. But it's still going to be just as fun. And that movie's called It Came From Beneath the Sea. How generic.
Looking back. American cinema has changed a lot in the last century. What we take for granted now in cinema when it comes to various topics was not always so lax. Films began pushing the limits of its viewers starting largely after the mid-1950s. Before this, films were quite conservative in their delivery. Whether it was morbid or sensual-related material, audiences of that time were not exposed to heavy imagery or over-the-top violence all that often. Especially after World War II, the atomic age had begun, and industry saw the potential in creating nuclear power. Of course, that is until we discovered the side effects of what nuclear radiation causes if left unchecked. As if to capitalize on the fad and its dangerous side effects, Hollywood made some movies using the topic of nuclear power as their plot device. Of the nuclear-based monster movies, the fan-favorite creature of this particular genre is the original Godzilla film. Come to think of it, it actually seems that very few movies use nuclear radiation as a reason for anything now. Okay, maybe some of the obscure ones.
Well, I guess every kind of decade finds some kind of scapegoat for something.
Overall plot and writing. The writing to this science fiction monster flick is very clean-cut. When Sub-Commander Pete Matthews, played by Kenneth Tobey, has a run-in with an unknown sea creature, he makes it his mission to find out what it was. Well, obviously. As it turns out, the sea creature was a giant octopus that had grown to enormous size after being in the vicinity of nuclear bomb test sites. Now, the octopus is headed toward shore, and Matthews wants to stop it before people are killed and infrastructure is ruined. It's a very basic hero saves town from monster plot, but it's serviceable. George Worthing Yates and another man by the name of Harold Jacob Smith were the writers to this movie. Yates is also the guy who a year before penned the story to them. And guess what?
It was another story about radiation monsters attacking people, and that time it was ants. Oh, the campiness ensues.
Now, if Yates had just stuck to this premise, perhaps the viewing experience would not be so confusing. Also helping Matthews make this discovery are two scientists, Professor Joyce, played by Faith Domergue, and Dr. Carter, played by Donald Curtis. Instead, Yates creates this sort of love triangle between Joyce, Carter, and Matthews, and it doesn't get any clearer than that. I mean, look at this scene right here. When Matthews meets Joyce, it's apparent on screen that they will interact more in the future. Yeah, I smile because I know we have something that you're not aware of yet. Ah, yes, the face of an all-too-familiar cliché. I mean, I couldn't even understand if they were supposed to be together. And if I don't think many others would get it either. Are they supposed to be together? I mean, one minute they're together, the other they're not, the next scene they're happy, the next scene they're splitting. It doesn't make any sense. And if this particular subplot was not going to be concluded, why even bother bringing it up in the first place?
Hey, a forced love interest character thread. Who doesn't love them?
Lastly, there's a reporter who asks our main leads if there are any more radioactive monsters among them. And their response was they didn't know. I know, in that era, technology was limited, but even during that time, Geiger counters were available, and they'd sure as hell detect a monster if they're that radioactive. What, did they forget to order their latest batch from Amazon? Besides, I don't think anyone wants to rebuild their city more than once anyway. Wouldn't you want to make sure there aren't any more before you just aim to kill one off when there might be more? I don't know, just a suggestion.
Well, due to my experience, I think we should blow this thing straight out of the water, even though I have no idea if anything else exists that's that big.
Fire! Fire!
Okay, job's done. We're good to go. Somehow I feel like I didn't think this through thoroughly.
As for the octopus itself, anything else as to why it is bloodthirsty or wants to wreak havoc is beyond motivational understanding, and any explanation can be made on it. And since it's a science fiction genre movie, let's just use nuclear radiation as our reason for this. Actors and characters. Of the cast members that make up this movie, the only actors who have the most time on screen are the three main leads mentioned before. No other actor has a significant amount of screen time. Even with this, though, the acting is acceptable. Kenneth Tobey as Commander Matthews has the chops to be the head of the submarine and can also show how to take charge in various situations. Tobey was also cast in the original The Thing from Another World and had a role in the comedy Airplane.
What's your guess, Griff?
Just going to ask you, sir.
Privately? Privately? I'm keeping my mouth shut and I'm advising you to do the same. The next time I cruise in these waters, I'm going to have torpedoes on board and warheads on them.
Faith Domergue and Donald Curtis as the scientists naturally fit their roles and sound convincing enough like they've done their research. Actor Donald Curtis is another familiar face in well-known films. A year later, he would play the character of Merid in The Ten Commandments.
They only live at the extreme depths of the sea, Admiral. They almost never come up unless they're disturbed.
Disturbed? By what?
Hydrogen bombs.
H-bombs have been blamed for every freak accident that's happened since, up to and including, marine monsters being disturbed.
See? Even the movie thinks radioactivity is so overused. Hey man, I think it just broke the fourth wall.
Not disturbed, Mr. Chase. Hungry.
Now, although their acting is fine, sadly it's the writing that makes their characterizations so confusing because of their actions.
For the record, are you tied up?
Alright,
I
come
see
on,
what you
enough
mean.
with the schmoozing, just get with her already.
Girl has to have some secrets, doesn't she?
Thanks to Professor Joyce, we've discovered the nature of your monster.
Okay, well, alright, now he likes her. Is there jealousy?
He kissed me.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes?
Why are they debating this?
Seems like
Just...
He didn't even ask me.
That's hardly relevant.
Damn you, force love interest!
Animation and cinematography. With the revolution technology has made in the last half a century, seeing old-fashioned techniques that were used to make unfathomable things a reality should catch the audience's eyes. For this feature, the showcase is the giant octopus, animated through the magic of stop-motion animation. More specifically, claymation. And look, I'm sorry, if you don't know what this is, it's time to get a schooling, you little whippersnapper!
You see, if nothing else appeals to the viewer, the claymation octopus will.
Behind this amiable special visual effect is Ray Harryhausen, the same man who did work for Jason and the Argonauts, and most famously in Clash of the Titans, which ended up being his last movie. Sad face. Turns out to save money, Harryhausen made the octopus only with 6 tentacles, but unless one is truly paying any attention, it would be difficult to notice. Anything that has Harryhausen listed in the credits has great quality. Working as the director of photography was Henry Frulich. This is literally the only picture I could find of Mr. Frulich. It seems as though he's done work for the Three Stooges as a cinematographer as well. Shows he goes way back. For what it's worth, the blending of live action and animation isn't seamless, but for the time, it's impressive considering the budget. Like for example, in this scene, although the two pieces of footage are spliced together, it actually looks like the people are running away from an actual tentacle, even though it's in clay animation. For 1955, I give them props for that. I mean, that's damn good looking. The most iconic of scenes to come out of this movie would probably be the bridge scene in which the octopus really does some damage. It's also where you get to see a lot of the octopus in action. There are, however, 1 or 2 scenes where it's like someone is standing in front of a green screen. Those parts are laughably cheesy. Hey now, don't lose your balance. After all, you're only standing on a stable platform. Soundtrack and film score. Since movies like this at the time did not attract big-name composers, lesser-known choices were picked. Some of them even went anonymous. Russian composer Misha Bakalainikov. Yeah, Bakalainikov. Say that 3 times fast. Just look at that spelling. Holy Moses! Provided the film score. The intro credits only say Bakalainikov conducted the music, when in fact he did compose it as well. All 9 minutes of it.
Really? 9 minutes worth of score music? Well then how prevalent is this music if the movie's roughly 80 minutes?
Turns out, Bakalainikov was more of an implementer of shortcuts more than the original composition. By shortcuts, he would take his original tracks and recut them to sound like other tracks. This in turn gives the score sounding a bit choppy, but for the actual tracks that aren't cut like the main title, they have the classic monster movie-like sound that is unmistakably from that era. Sadly, Bakalynikov would be uncredited to his own work on every project until his last film.
Ooh, ouch. Talk about not getting recognized for your own work.
Now, although there's not a lot of score music to this particular film, music studio Monstrous Movie Music has reproduced a number of scores to many of the films that came out during that time. When these films were released, much of the scores went unnoticed and unreleased. Thankfully, though, they were able to recover much of the music from those films, and the compilation has been around on various websites. Here are a few tracks. Overall impressions. Was it a flub or a job well done? Unless it has the right tone, many monster films of the mid-20th century end up just being awkward, cheesy fun. The characters are a bit confusing to follow in motivations, and the plot is pretty thin. However, the limited yet creative stop-motion animation provided by Ray Harryhausen, classic oldies film score, and credible actors make this a quick monster mash of a movie.
This film is not complex in any way, but it is light entertainment fluff for those looking for B-movie fun.